At exactly 3:13 a.m., the woman heard her dead mother singing inside the bathroom. But her mother had been buried 3 days ago. The apartment lights flickered. The mirror above the sink slowly fogged from the inside, as if something behind the glass was breathing. Then a message appeared across the mirror in dripping letters. I can still see her showering. The woman froze. A second message appeared. Now I see you too. And then, the reflection inside the mirror smiled, while she didn't. The rain hammered violently against the windows of apartment 66 in Munich, Germany. Thunder rolled through the city while Duchess Emilia Hartmann stood before the massive antique mirror hanging in her bedroom. The mirror was over 100 years old, framed with black wood carved into twisted human faces. Emilia had bought it from an old blind collector who warned her never to speak to it after midnight. Of course, she ignored him, because the mirror spoke the truth. At first, it was harmless. She would ask simple questions. Am I beautiful? The mirror always answered, yes, my queen. But over time, the mirror became smarter, more personal, more alive. That night, Emilia stood in her silk robe, wine glass trembling slightly in her hand. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the most beautiful woman of them all? The mirror's surface rippled like black water. You, my queen. She smiled. In Munich? Yes. In Germany? Yes. In the whole world? A pause. Longer this time. Then the mirror whispered, I lied before. Emilia's smile disappeared. What? There is another. Her face darkened instantly. Who? The mirror's surface twisted violently. Your mother. Emilia laughed loudly. My mother is 70 years old, but I adore watching her. The room became silent. A horrible scratching noise echoed from inside the mirror. She showers every night at 10:45 p.m., the mirror whispered excitedly. I watch her through the reflection. Emilia felt her stomach twist in disgust. You sick monster, the mirror chuckled. She cries while bathing. She still mourns your father. Humans are most beautiful when broken. Emilia screamed and grabbed the mirror from the wall. The glass vibrated violently in her hands. Wait, the mirror shouted. But she carried it downstairs to the basement garbage room. Her breathing became heavy. The mirror begged louder now. You promised not to be angry. Emilia shoved the mirror into an industrial shredder used for old furniture and trash. The machine roared alive. The mirror screamed, not like metal breaking, like a human being dying. Its voice echoed through the basement. Emilia, please, he's still inside. Crunch. The mirror shattered into thousands of pieces. Silence. Then, every light in the basement died instantly. Darkness swallowed everything. Emilia's breathing quickened. From somewhere behind her, glass cracked. Tiny pieces. Hundreds of them. She slowly turned around. Every broken shard from the destroyed mirror was moving across the floor by itself. Dragging. Crawling. Like insects. And inside every tiny shard, she could see an eye staring back at her. Blinking. Watching. Smiling. Then all the shards spoke together in one horrifying voice. Now we can see everything. Suddenly, all the basement walls filled with reflections that shouldn't exist. In one reflection, Emilia stood there crying. In another, she was hanging from the ceiling. In another, something tall and black stood directly behind her. Its skin looked like cracked glass. Its face had no eyes, only a giant smiling mouth. And worst of all, in the reflection, it was getting closer. But in real life, there was nothing behind her. Yet, the basement temperature dropped violently. A whisper touched her ear. So beautiful. Emilia slowly looked down at the floor. One final shard rested near her foot. Inside it, her dead father stared upward, bleeding from empty eye sockets. Then he whispered, "Don't let it out." The security cameras inside apartment 66 recorded something impossible. At 4:01 a.m., Emilia entered the elevator alone. But the mirror inside the elevator showed two people. One was Emilia. The second stood directly behind her. Tall, smiling. Its face cracked like shattered glass. And when the elevator doors opened, only Emilia walked out. Because the other thing never needed doors. Emilia couldn't breathe. Her father's face inside the mirror shard vanished suddenly, leaving only darkness in the glass. The basement remained silent except for the faint sound of dripping water somewhere deep below the building. Then came the knocking. Tap, 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 from inside the walls. Emilia backed away slowly, stepping over the crawling mirror shards. Every piece reflected distorted images that changed each time she blinked. In one shard, she saw herself without eyes. In another, she saw an old woman hanging upside down from the ceiling. And in another, her mother standing naked in the bathroom, while something black and tall watched her from behind the shower curtain. Emilia gasped and crushed the shard beneath her shoe. The scream that came from it sounded painfully human. Suddenly, every shard on the floor snapped toward her at once. Watching, the lights flickered back on for 1 second. In that single flash, she saw the creature standing at the end of the basement hallway, at least 7 feet tall, its body twisted unnaturally, made entirely of black reflective glass. Cracks ran across its skin like broken mirrors, and its smile stretched impossibly wide. The lights died again. Darkness. Then rapid footsteps exploded through the basement. Coming toward her, Emilia ran. She sprinted toward the elevator while the sound of cracking glass chased her from behind. The elevator button refused to work. "Come on," she screamed. The footsteps got closer. Closer. Then suddenly, silence. Emilia froze. A soft whisper came from directly beside her ear. "You looked prettier afraid." She turned. Nothing. Ding. The elevator doors opened instantly. Emilia jumped inside and smashed the close button repeatedly. As the doors slowly shut, she saw the creature again, standing motionless at the end of the hallway, smiling. Its cracked face reflected hundreds of screaming human faces trapped inside its body. The doors closed. Emilia collapsed against the elevator wall, shaking violently. Then she looked up. Her blood turned cold, because the elevator mirror showed the creature standing right behind her. But when she turned around, nothing was there. The reflection creature tilted its head slowly, smiling wider. Then the elevator lights went out. Pitch black darkness swallowed everything. Emilia heard breathing, not hers. Something wet moved behind her. A long cracking noise echoed through the elevator like bones snapping one by one. Then the emergency lights flickered on dimly red. The reflection in the mirror had changed again. Now the creature was touching her shoulder. In real life, she suddenly felt cold fingers resting gently on her skin. Emilia screamed and spun around wildly. Nothing but deep scratch marks suddenly appeared across her shoulder. Blood soaked through her robe instantly. The elevator stopped moving. Floor number 13. But her apartment building only had 8 floors. The doors opened slowly. A hallway appeared that shouldn't exist. The wallpaper was rotten black. The ceiling dripped water mixed with blood. And every apartment door along the hallway had mirrors instead of numbers. From somewhere far away, people were crying. Emilia stumbled backward. No. But invisible hands suddenly shoved her forward out of the elevator. The doors slammed shut behind her. The hallway lights flickered weakly. Then every mirror door began trembling violently. Bang, bang, bang. Something inside the apartments wanted out. A child's voice echoed through the hallway. "Mommy," another voice whispered. "Help us." Emilia's breathing became shallow. Then she noticed one apartment door slowly creaking open by itself. Inside was a bathroom. Steam filled the air, and standing under the running shower was her mother. But something was horribly wrong. Snow White Hartman stood completely still beneath the water, facing the wall silently. Her skin looked pale gray, wrinkled, dead. "Mom," Emilia whispered. Slowly, her mother turned around. Her mouth had been sewn shut with black thread, and written across the bathroom mirror in blood were the words, "IT watched US through every reflection." Emilia tried calling the police, but every time the operator answered, it was her own voice speaking back, crying, begging, "Don't let it find the bathroom." Then the phone camera suddenly activated by itself. On the screen, Emilia saw herself standing in the hallway. But behind her, the thing made of shattered glass slowly opened its mouth. And inside its mouth, hundreds of human eyes blinked in darkness. Emilia stared at her mother's stitched mouth in horror. The shower water ran black around the old woman's feet like liquid rot. Her pale eyes trembled with terror. "Mom," Emilia whispered weakly. Snow White raised a shaking finger toward the bathroom mirror. The reflection inside it was wrong. In real life, Emilia stood alone beside the shower. But inside the mirror, the glass creature stood directly behind her, both hands resting gently on her shoulders. Smiling, its mouth stretched wider than humanly possible. Crack. The bathroom mirror split down the middle. A black hand suddenly pushed through the glass from the inside. Emilia screamed and stumbled backward. Another arm emerged. Then another. The creature crawled halfway out of the mirror like something being born from another world. Shards of glass tore through its skin as it dragged itself forward. Snow White began making muffled cries behind the stitches sealing her lips. The creature tilted its cracked head toward the old woman. She was so lonely after your father died. It whispered softly. I kept her company every night. Emilia grabbed a towel rack and swung it violently. The metal smashed across the creature's face. Crack. Its head twisted unnaturally. But instead of blood, thousands of tiny mirror shards spilled from the wound onto the floor, each containing screaming reflections of trapped people. The creature laughed. You cannot break a reflection. Suddenly, all the bathroom mirrors exploded at once. Glass filled the air like bullets. Emilia covered her face while Snow White collapsed, screaming silently beneath the shower water. Then the lights went out. Darkness. Only the sound of dripping water remained. Drip, drip, drip. Then, every surface around them began reflecting light even in the darkness. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. Every reflection showed impossible things moving around them. People crawling upside down. Bleeding faces pressed against invisible glass. Children clawing desperately from inside mirrors. And among them, Emilia saw her father again. This time clearer. His face bruised and bloody. Emilia, he whispered weakly. Tears filled her eyes. Dad, he lives behind reflections, her father said painfully. Every mirror is a door. The creature's voice thundered through the darkness. He belongs to me now. Suddenly her father screamed violently as invisible hands dragged him backward into blackness. Don't look into its eyes, he shouted before vanishing. A bright flash exploded across the bathroom. The lights returned. The creature was gone, but Snow White collapsed unconscious on the floor. Emilia quickly ripped the black stitches from her mother's mouth while the old woman cried hysterically. It watched me for years, Snow White whispered. Every mirror in the apartment, every reflection. What is that thing? Emilia asked desperately. Her mother shook uncontrollably. Your father brought it home. Silence. Emilia stared at her in confusion. What? Snow White pointed weakly toward the hallway outside. In the storage room. Emilia helped her mother walk through the apartment. Every mirror had now turned completely black, like deep holes staring into another world. The air smelled rotten. As they reached the old storage room near the kitchen, Snow White suddenly stopped walking. No, she whispered fearfully. The door was already open. Inside the room stood dozens of covered objects beneath white sheets. Old furniture, paintings, broken antiques, and in the center, a giant mirror covered by a black cloth. The room temperature dropped instantly. Snow White began crying. Your father found it during the war. Emilia slowly approached the mirror. Something underneath the cloth was moving, breathing. Then a voice came from beneath the cover. Not the creature's voice. Her father's. Emilia. Tears rolled down her face. Dad, please, the voice whispered weakly. Don't uncover it. But another voice suddenly interrupted from inside the mirror. A deeper voice. A hungry one. Yes, Emilia. The cloth began lifting slowly by itself. Look at me. Police discovered apartment 66 completely empty. No bodies. No blood. No signs of struggle. Only one thing remained inside the bedroom. An old mirror. And according to the police report, anyone who looked into it for longer than 30 seconds began seeing someone standing behind them, even when the room was empty. 3 officers later disappeared. Then the mirror vanished too. The black cloth slid slowly off the giant mirror. Emilia wanted to run. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to look away. But she couldn't move. The mirror underneath was enormous, stretching from floor to ceiling. Its frame looked ancient, carved from something darker than wood. Human faces twisted along the edges. Screaming. Frozen. The surface of the mirror rippled like liquid oil. And deep inside the reflection, something moved. Snow White collapsed to her knees crying. Don't listen to it, she whispered. But the mirror already had Emilia's attention. Inside the glass stood her father, or something pretending to be him. His body looked wrong, bent unnaturally, his smile too wide, his eyes completely black. Emilia, he said softly, come closer. Tears streamed down her face. I tried to save you, she whispered. The thing wearing her father's face smiled wider. You can still save me. Behind him, Hundreds of shadowy human figures wandered endlessly in darkness. Some had missing faces. Others clawed desperately against invisible walls. They were trapped inside the mirror world. The creature suddenly appeared beside her father. Tall, cracked, smiling eternally. "You humans are so easy," it whispered. "You always look back." Suddenly the apartment lights exploded. Darkness swallowed everything again. Then came the sound of mirrors shattering all across the apartment. Crash, crack, boom. Every reflective surface broke at once. From the hallway, footsteps approached. Hundreds of them. Emilia turned toward the doorway. People were emerging from the darkness, but they weren't alive. Their skin looked pale gray like old ash. Glass shards protruded from their flesh. Their eyes reflected light like mirrors, and every single one was smiling. The creature walked slowly toward Emilia. Each step made cracking noises like breaking bones. "I watched your mother for years," it whispered lovingly. "I watched your father beg for death." Its smile widened further. "Now I want you." Suddenly Snow White grabbed a lantern from a shelf and smashed it against the giant mirror. Flames erupted instantly. The creature screamed. Not human screams. Something ancient. Something impossible. The mirror surface began melting while the trapped souls inside clawed desperately against the glass. Emilia's father appeared one final time. His real face. Broken. Terrified. "Don't let it escape," he screamed. The creature lunged toward Snow White violently. Its glass claws pierced straight through her chest. Blood sprayed across the burning mirror. "Mom!" Emilia screamed. Snow White smiled weakly despite the blood pouring from her mouth. Then she whispered, "Break every reflection." The mirror cracked wider. The creature began sinking back into the burning glass while shrieking in rage. But Emilia suddenly noticed something horrifying. Every shard on the floor still reflected the creature's face. It wasn't trapped. Not completely. The apartment walls began filling with new reflections. Windows, phones, even droplets of blood reflected its smile. The creature laughed horribly while burning. "You can never destroy reflection." The giant mirror exploded. A shockwave blasted through the apartment. Everything went white. 3 days later, police entered apartment 66 after neighbors reported endless screaming from inside. The apartment was empty. Snow White, Emilia, gone. Only one object remained untouched inside the bedroom. A small mirror shard lying on the floor. One young police officer picked it up carefully. Inside the reflection, he saw a tall, cracked figure standing behind him, smiling. The officer turned around instantly. Nothing there. When he looked back down at the shard again, his own reflection was smiling now. But he wasn't. If you enjoyed this terrifying story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment your darkest fear below. And remember, sometimes mirrors don't show reflections. Sometimes they watch back.